3 of their last 4, and he's played 35 or more minutes in their last 7 games. So he will be the proverbial straw that stirs the drink for first-year coach Kenny Payne. Meanwhile, cannot say enough how important Saturday's win in Atlanta was for Jeff Capel, but he reminded his team today, it just gets us back to where we want to go, Dan, as a basketball team.
Well, they lost games to Clemson and to Duke, and so those aren't bad losses. And that's what you have to do is when you're playing in college basketball. You've got to get as many good wins as you can and avoid bad losses.
Burton out of the left corner. 3 rims away, and the rebound for Jalen Withers. The Cards go with their 5th different starting lineup. Bradley Huntley Hatfield not available, or Brandon Huntley Hatfield, by the way, not available tonight for Louisville for a 2nd straight game with a foot injury. So they go with Kamari Lands, the freshman from Indianapolis, on the floor tonight. And here is Curry, who was challenged by his coach to have a big game, and he follows his own miss, and Louisville takes an early lead.
That's a really nice job by Louisville to move the ball and create that situation inside. I'm not sure Federico has the bulk to handle Curry.
And there is a foul on Curry as Burton attacked on the dribble. Good crew here tonight. Lamar Simpson, Tim Clockerty, and Doug Sermons, who whistles the first on the Fort Wayne, Indiana senior Sidney Curry.
And keep one thing in mind, Wes, if you're Curry, you can't play if you're in foul trouble.
Yep.
And that's what Burton does. Burton attacks you and puts you in situations where you might foul.
Blake Henson. Here is Nelly Cummings. Lots been discussed about Pitt and the composition of this roster. Here's Henson on the spin. Put it up. Got his own rebound. And his re-rack was knocked out of bounds. Last touch by the Cards.
And Wes, none of that hit the rim. None of those attempts hit the rim. So the Panthers have 4.5 seconds left to shoot the ball.
Cummings will put it on play.
Burton's looking for the lob against Ellis.
Spot throw in on the baseline. And here is Burton on the long inbounds, and an offensive foul on Jamaris Burton. That'll be his first, #1 on the Panthers. And Jeff Capel, 48 years of age, Fayetteville, North Carolina native, now in season 5. And well, you can kind of sense the consistency and a little bit of continuity has developed in this Panther program after a lot of stuff had to be done in the previous 3-4 years now.
Well, he's done a nice job building the program. I think he's got a team that he really likes.
Yep. Curry threw it away. Lands was standing out on the wing, and an unforced error for Kenny Payne's club.
And Ellis is talking to Lands. I think Curry threw the ball where Lands was supposed to be, but Lands wasn't there.
Blake Henson. Here is Elliott. He's a transfer from Marquette. This is Burton. No surprise on the touch each time offensively. Henson hesitates, tried to score, and he's going to draw a Cardinal foul on the drive. Withers draws his first. It's the second on Louisville. And that'll send Blake Henson, 6'7", 235 junior transfer from Iowa State, to the line. There's Kenny Payne looking for his first ACC win. Louisville's lost 11 straight ACC games. Their last conference win was February against Clemson. Free throw by Henson is the first point of the night for the Panthers.
Wes, one of the things that you saw Louisville do on that last defensive series is Curry left Federico to double team Burton. And I think that's what you're going to see. Federico is a guy who's not heavily involved in the offense, and you're going to see Louisville leaving him taking some chances defensively.
Yeah, the sophomore from Finland, Federico. Certainly a member of the all-name team, by the way.
Pitt plays that tough man-to-man defense, and here's where Federico is going to struggle.
Curry, did he travel? Double dribble, says Doug Sermons. So another Cardinal turnover, Dan.
Well, but fortunately for the Cardinals, that wasn't a transition turnover, Wes. Pitt has to take the ball out of bounds. You don't want to throw the ball to the other team and give them, as what Tom Izzo calls, turnovers for touchdowns.
Burton, skip across, Cummings an open 3. And the miss is recovered by Lands on the rebound. Interested to see Kamari Lands with this opportunity to start on the floor tonight for Kenny Payne. 3-ball Withers. Pittsburgh in trailing 5-2. Jalen Withers, 21st 3 of the year. He started the ball game last Saturday against Carolina after coming off the bench the previous 3. Burton tries to answer. Cannot. Missed on the backside, and Withers the rebound for Louisville.
Well, Withers is a guy who can shoot the 3. He started out a little slowly this year, but in ACC play, he's come on a bit.
Here's Lands. Withers thought about it. Out of the corner, Mike James. Curry had a shot at the rebound. Here's Cummings in Pittsburgh.
And Burton's telling him to hurry up.
Elliott thought about the 3. Step in 2 is good for Greg Elliott III. His first points. And the Cards operating with a 1-point lead here in the first 3.5.
Listen, how often do you go the first 3.5 minutes of the game and Ellis hadn't shot the ball?
Well, that's the point I was kind of waiting to see if Ellis is going to create. He'll take it on the drive, turn it over to Burton. Here comes Cummings. 3-on-2 into the corner. Elliott tees up a 3, and it's good. And there'll be a foul on Henson. He knocked, I believe, Withers to the deck. The 3 ball is going to count. Elliott's got 5 in a row.
Well, Wes, and this is the kind of turnover that you can't have. Really nice job getting the ball up the court, and the officials, that ball has to be out of Elliott's hand by the time the foul occurs, and the officials are very comfortable making that call. If he still has the ball in his hand when his teammate commits a foul, then that doesn't count.
Burton comes out of the ball game. Nike Sibande, who was terrific in Atlanta against Georgia Tech with 21 points. He is the 6th man traditionally for Jeff Capel, and he's onto the floor here with just better than 4 minutes gone first half. There's Sibande defending against James. On the drive, tried to feed Curry, knocked away. James recovers. He'll draw the foul on Federico. It'll be his first, and it will be the 3rd on Pittsburgh. So, free throws for the Cards when we come back. But Pitt's got a 2-point lead, and we're underway with these type of usage percentages.
Well, it's not that I recall. Look at that. He has more assists than everybody else on the team combined. He has twice as many field goal attempts as anybody else on the team. He has twice as many 3-point attempts as anybody else on the team. He has nearly twice as many free throw attempts as anybody else on the team. That's like 31% of the team 3-point attempts and 27% of the team field goal attempts. That is amazing.
Well, here's Mike James, who's going to the line, and Ellis has been terrific. Free throw by James, a 73% free throw shooter is good. Now, let's also say this too. He's had to earn the confidence, or those guys have had to earn his confidence, James being a principal guy.
Yeah, absolutely, Wes. With Ellis, you know, he gets to the point where he's got to trust his teammates, and he's done that pretty well. He hadn't attempted a shot, and he has an assist here early.
Tied at 7. Backcourt pressure offered by the Cards. And here is Sibande. Federico stays on the floor, by the way, after committing the foul, with Elliott, Cummings, Henson.
And so far, Louisville's done a nice job keeping Pitt out of the lane.
Yeah.
And they're in a zone now.
8 to shoot. Sibande launching from the right and scores. Well, Nike Sibande was 3 of 6 from 3 on Saturday in Atlanta, and he hits his first offer there.
Wes, he's made more than 200 threes in his career. This is a guy who came in 2 years ago and suffered a torn ACL. Took him a while to recover, and now he's playing the way the guys from Pitt thought he would be able to play.
3 ball from Ellis is the answer at the other end.
Boy, Jeff Capel's upset. He thought that was an illegal screen by Roosevelt Wheeler.
Yep. Wheeler jockeying with Cummings. Nonetheless, ball game tied at 10. We'll keep an eye on that in the next offensive possession for the Cards, because that's one of the things we noticed in Louisville's preparation today was emphasis on those bigs, setting the good screen to allow for clean looks, perhaps, by Kenny Payne's offense. Here is Sibande, right corner. Elliott had 5 in a row a moment ago. He'll leave it for Henson, a 3. Shot clock violation. It will go to the Cards on terrific defense by Louisville.
Wes, and a screen has to be stationary, and this is what Jeff Capel was upset about. Number 4, Wheeler.
Whoa.
You know, he's banging around there with Cummings. And if you're going to give Ellis that much time and room, and Cummings wasn't trying to.
Right.
But if you're going to give Ellis that much time and room, he's going to hurt you.
Lands, and here is Ellis, and again, there's the Wheeler screen. And now the foul on Wheeler. Yep. Dan, got to hold your position, right?
Well, you have to hold your position, Wes, and I think a really good way for a defensive player to attack that screen is if you run into the guy hip to hip, it's going to look like an illegal screen every time.
Cost Louisville their 4th turnover.
But again, they've only had one transition turnover.
Henson turning and over Henson, or rather over Wheeler, couldn't score the basket.
Panthers have struggled shooting the ball, Wes.
Sure have. 3 of their first 9. Ellis with that high dribble. Skip across. Withers thought about it. Beat Henson to the point. Now they move it for Lanz's 3 off the right. Withers, terrific follow. Jalen Withers now. A little confidence could go a long way for Withers, Dan, who really flourished at the end of last year for the Cards.
Absolutely, Wes. And when you get that kind of ball movement, you force the defense to scramble. Not only do you create open shots, but you create offensive rebounding opportunity.
And here's a steal by Withers to the basket, and the follow by Wheeler. 7-0 run by the Ville. 9th field goal of the year for Roosevelt Wheeler.
And Wes, the Panthers are a team that create an awful lot of offense by getting the ball into the lane, and they simply haven't been able to do that very well tonight.
Here's Cummings, little short runner. Wheeler the rebound. Ellis. Here's Withers.
Boy, he thought about it.
Lanz will shoot it. Federico kept it alive for Cummings.
Panthers have to try to get some easy baskets.
Almost turned it over. Sibande runs it down. Now right back at Withers. Cummings cut through, feeds Federico. Up strong, can't score it. Right in between Lanz, or James and Withers, it looked like, for the sophomore Federico.
That was a pass he had to pick off his shoe tops, Wes, and that's really hard for a big guy, particularly one that doesn't have the bulk inside to force his way up.
Ellis wiring through traffic. Here's Lanz. Little runner. And Sibande and Pittsburgh try and see if there's an opportunity here. Henson pulls his way into the lane and draws the foul. That'll be the 2nd on Blake Henson. It's the 4th on Pittsburgh. It'll take us to a timeout. A 7-0 run for the Cards and a 4-point lead. More you can do, right? And for Jalen Withers, we equate some of that more you can do to scoring. And while he's been good at that, Dan, it's details too that are paying off.
Well, this is, he makes a nice pass and gets himself back in bounds and comes right at the basket. A 2nd chance point for Louisville. And now here he is, he gets the steal. Now he's not going to score, but look in the middle. Wheeler's running down the middle, and he gets the basket.
Yep.
Pitt gave up 24 offensive rebounds in their loss to Duke. Louisville already has 3 offensive rebounds tonight. They've scored 6 points as a result of those offensive rebounds, and Jalen Withers has been very inconsistent, and it appears that he's on his way to having one of his good games tonight.
Wheeler off the floor, and Sidney Curry has come back for Coach Payne. We get our first look also at J.J. Traynor, who had a couple of points in a start against Carolina on Saturday, but boy, against Clemson and Wake Forest, the 2 prior games, had averaged 8 points coming off the bench, so that's where he'll start the ball game from tonight. And that time James forced it up against Guillermo Diaz-Graham. Last touched by the Panthers. So
you can see one of the things Louisville wants to do, and that is they want to post up the Pitt guards. And Diaz-Graham came over and did a really nice job helping out West, but he could not control the ball. So here is another 2nd chance opportunity for Louisville.
6 to shoot for the Cards. Ellis against Burton. Pretty good matchup here. Ellis a little pull up, missed everything. It's a shot clock violation. Not that you'd want to clear the other guys off the floor, but Ellis and Jamaris Burton, that's pretty good.
Well, if you're Louisville, that's the matchup you want to have with the shot clock running down, but good defense by Burton.
Yep.
Now Louisville back into man-to-man.
Santos, he's a guy that can provide a spark off Capel's bench, and so can Sibande. A pair of 3s in the first half for Nike Sibande.
The way Sibande has been playing over the last 4 or 5 games, Wes, particularly the way he's shooting the 3, you have to find him.
Pitt snapped the drought. Here's Curry, tried to dump it to James, too hot to handle, and a turnover on the Cards that will be their 6th of this first half.
Sibande does such a good job, Wes, moving without the basketball, finding open spots. And Wes, you can see right there, when he catches the ball, he's ready to shoot it. You don't have to shoot it every time, but when you catch it, you better be ready to let it go.
Nike's hit a couple of threes, and he wanted to make sure Louisville knew after the second one.
So Louisville's back in the zone, and this is a deep three. My heavens.
Yep. Get ready. 3 double figures in his last 4 games, and Nike Sibande from Indianapolis. I'm sure he needed a ticket or 2 tonight. Ellis working against Sibande all the way through, and there'll be a foul called on the Panthers. And it is on the Miami of Ohio transfer, Nike Sibande, who has raced to the scoring lead for Pitt with 3 triples here.
Now Sibande a little over-aggressive that time. When Ellis gets down in the lane like that, he has help. He doesn't have to be bodying him quite so much.
Right. So a new 20 for the Ville after Pitt took the lead on the Sibande triple.
Well, Ellis has something to say to Doug Sermons.
And Trainer squeezes up and scores. First field goal for the junior for Bardstown. Halfway home in half number 1 here at the Yum Center.
And Louisville's back in the man-to-man.
Elliott. Now Sibande out front, and James tries to defend him. Diaz-Graham from in front. Guillermo's 3rd 3 of the year, Dan.
Well, now the Pitt coaching staff will tell you that both he and his brother can shoot the 3 very effectively. They're just sort of getting some confidence playing at this level of college basketball.
7-foot freshman from the Canary Islands pushes the lead to 3 again. Ellis tries to tie. And the rebound, Elliott had it. Diaz-Graham kept it alive. Here's Burton. Sibande.
Why not?
Another one? Yes, sir. He's got a dozen in the first half. 4 threes for Nike Sibande. And all of them are clean, Dan. My goodness. Panthers by a half dozen, riding 22. Nike Sibande rather, Dan. 4 for 4 from 3. He's got a dozen. The rest of the team's got 10 on 3 of 11.
Well, and Wes, another, you see Diaz-Graham there. He has a 3 as well.
Yeah.
The Panthers shoot the 3 very well, but they are not that heavily 3-point dependent. And again, Sibande, he's a guy who scored a lot at Miami of Ohio, and he is, he's finally healthy after a long comeback with that ACL rehab.
They only have 1 2-point goal of their 7 field goals.
Wow.
6-point lead behind the effort of Nike Sibande. Ellis rubs from the Curry screen. Trainer, offensive foul. J.J. Trainer, it's his first, it's the 4th on the Ville.
Wes, and we're talking about Nike Sibande's game on the offensive end, but you can see he's the guy they have matched up against Ellis. So
right.
The Pitt coaching staff, a lot of confidence in Sibande's defensive ability. They also trust him that he won't pick up a foul because he's got 1, doesn't he?
Well,
no, he doesn't have a foul.
Well, Blake Henson's got 2. He's on the bench. Here's a kick out. Santos can also stroke it and does. Nate Santos' 4th 3 of the year. Sophomore from Geneva, Illinois, has pushed this lead to 9. It's a 9-0 run, and all of it's behind the line. Ellis.
That's Santos' first 3 in ACC play, was.
Out of the corner, Withers tries to answer, hit the side of the glass. Here's Burton, and a foul in the backcourt against the Cards. It's going to be on Jalen Withers, and it's his 2nd. The tough part about that for Kenny Payne's team, that's their leading scorer with 8:16 to play, and quite frankly, a guy 5 minutes ago in terms of game time was playing as well as anybody on the floor.
Well, Wes, that's part of the problem. When you're struggling and you're on the bad end of a run, everybody's trying to make a play. And that was not a good shot. And when you take a bad shot, that's the same as a turnover. It allows your opponent to get out and go.
Devin Reed checks into the ball game. He is a freshman from Jackson, Mississippi. Played briefly in Saturday's loss to Carolina. Sibande lines another one up. Diaz-Graham pulls away an offensive rebound for Pitt. Little give and go with Santos, and the Panthers turn it over. Here's Ellis all the way to the basket. Santos blocked it. Diaz-Graham pulls it away. Quick outlet to Burton. Ahead for Santos. Back for Jamaris Burton. Short jumper good. First points of the game for the grad student from Charlotte.
That was really a nice fast break. A good outlet pass by Diaz-Graham.
It's 11-0, Dan, in the run. It's 17-2 in total. And almost turned over and was turned over. Last touch by Curry, and now all of a sudden Nike Sibande's got friends. Welcome Nate Santos to the proceedings tonight.
We've been talking about Pitt's three-point offense, Wes, but their defense has been solid during this one. Watch this play by Burton. He goes to the low post. He stops Curry from getting an easy basket, and that results in a turnover as Diaz-Graham gets down there and knocks the ball away. But Burton makes an outstanding play to go cut off that opportunity for Curry on the inside.
Well, and now if the Panthers can manage to find the defensive rhythm to equate what they're doing offensively here in the flurry, especially as we've noted most of it behind the three-point line. Pitt's on an 11-0 run the last 2.5 minutes, and boy, Jeff Cable's got to feel pretty good about the start after his team kind of settled in here in the first 6 minutes.
Wes, the Panthers don't have any points inside yet, and that's where they make their living.
Here is Ellis. Out front, Kamari lands. Sibande trying to keep Ellis in front. Tough challenge there. Here's Lands with the shot clock winding down, and Cummings goes to the floor to get the rebound, then rolls it out to Diaz-Graham.
That's called an outlet roll, not an outlet pass.
Diaz-Graham thought about it and turned it over, trying to drive from the wing. Cards in transition. Lands had it blocked by Sibande, and it will stay with Louisville.
Wes, Nike Sibande is doing about everything here
Sure
so
is.
far. He does a really good job going straight up in the air, and when he brings his arm down, he brings it down behind the body of Lands, so there's no chance that he's going to hit Lands with that arm.
No telling how many people hopped on 65 for the ride down to Louisville tonight, huh? Out of the corner, Ellis launches. Back rim miss, and Burton cleans it up. And here are the Panthers trying to get an advantage in transition. Sibande working on Reed. And now Burton. Nice pass. Guillermo Diaz-Graham has got 5, Dan.
Wes, and Pitt does not post up their big guys, but their big guys get involved with offensive rebounds and plays like that coming off the screen and roll. The way they've been shooting the threes, you got to get out on the guards, and that leaves Diaz-Graham alone.
13 in a row for Pitt. 19-2 is the run. And all of a sudden, the Panthers have a 13-point lead as Reed tries to answer, cannot. Curry the rebound, right back for the Cards. Sidney Curry's second field goal. A welcome basket for Kenny Payne's team, but what a flurry. And here is Diaz-Graham. He put it up as he draws the foul. And Guillermo will go to the line. The foul is on Reed, the 6'8" freshman from Jackson, Mississippi. It's his first. It's the 6th on the Cards, and Guillermo Diaz-Graham will not get free throws here. There'll be a spot throw in on the baseline for Nelly Cummings.
After a really good start early, the Cards have had a tough time getting back on defense.
Burton slipped. I think he was the intended receiver of the inbounds play, and so Cummings had to offer and now collect. And here's Santos, a long three that missed everything. It might have been a heat check that made Santos, and then turned over in the backcourt. Here is Elliott to the basket, slashing through. It's all going Pitt's way here, Dan, with 5.5 to go.
Who was he trying to throw that ball to? Was that Withers? He just wasn't looking.
Right.
Really alert play by Burton.
Jamaris Burton's played like a crafty veteran here in this first half.
Which is exactly what he is.
Yeah. Curry skips out for James. And that's an offensive foul on Mike James. First on the redshirt freshman from Orlando. That is 7 now on the Ville with 5:12 to play.
As Curry is underneath the basket and he's running up the court. You don't throw the ball inbounds to Curry, for heaven's sakes. So that was Withers who made the pass, but you're looking for one of your guards. You're not looking for your post guy with an inbounds pass.
Promise you Sidney's not looking for it, right?
Well, and he proved that.
Zan Payne's going to check in the ball game.
That's not Curry's fault.
No, absolutely
when you're a big
not.
guy, the ball goes in the basket, your job is to get up the court.
Yeah, Withers checks out, and Zan Payne comes on. He is the grad transfer from Kentucky and the son of the Louisville head coach.
And Louisville back into the zone.
Yeah, and it was good to him early, Dan.
Yes, it was.
Really forced Pitt to think about what they were doing, and then the Panthers warmed up from the perimeter, and now all of a sudden they've missed a couple from behind the line. They have a 13-point lead.
Well, they've gotten the 13-point lead, Wes, making threes, but you don't want to forget the character of your team, and that's getting the ball in the lane.
James cut off on the baseline. Here is Payne. Looking for space inside and can't score it. Santos the rebound.
That's a good, tough rebound in traffic.
Burton spinning away from Ellis. In the corner, Cummings a three. Too strong. And they battle for it. Diaz-Graham to the floor. Saves it for Cummings. He'll launch with nobody home inside, and Ellis the rebound. Here's Ellis. Feeding the drive, and Traynor follows his own miss. Second bucket for Traynor.
Boy, Pitt's letting it fly, aren't they, Wes?
My goodness. Ellis almost had a one-man fast break a moment ago.
Well, Louisville was making a living on the offensive boards. That's what's keeping them in the game.
Yep. And that's a cautionary tale to Pitt after last Wednesday night's loss in Durham, isn't it, Dan?
Yes, it is.
Burton long two. Too strong. Diaz-Graham tried to keep it alive. James collects. Feels like a big 3.5 going home here for Kenny Payne.
This is a really important 3.5 minutes, Wes, because Louisville, you get the sense that they're crawling back in.
Traynor missing on the three. Curry going to get ticketed here. And Sidney Curry is going to draw his second. He and Withers with a pair each. 18 fouls.
Scored on the season, 341 to 213 in those points off turnovers. And in the ACC, it's a little worse in terms of points per game. And Kenny Payne's guys, 10 of their 20 points have been second chance points. So they've done a nice job on the offensive boards. They've been able to attack Pitt's weakness, but it doesn't work if you're going to throw the ball to the guys in the gold shirts.
Yeah. So Kenny Payne knowing full well.
I thought that was a misprint on the score.
No, Bobby Blankenship's running the show tonight.
Well, that's true.
Absolutely, our
Are you
producer
saying
put that
so
together and
that
said
makes it more likely to be a misprint or not?
No, I'm saying that Bobby confirmed the data.
Okay, all right.
Then presented it to us. Dave did it as well. We had a staff, Dan, our ACC network staff.
We have a staff?
Put that together for us. Yeah, we're getting a little game management going on here during the break. A foreign substance of sort has reached the basketball, so Doug Sermons is asking for that ball to be swabbed.
And that ball is not just being swabbed, that is being scrubbed.
Yeah, a little chamois action on the ball. And you may say, sitting at home, well, don't they have another basketball? But Dan, you know in the rule book, the ball in play is the ball in play, right?
And the coaches would go crazy if they switched out the ball.
Well, you and I both know that, and it is in the rule book that the ball in play is the ball in play unless that ball somehow is no longer able to be used for a variety of reasons. Guillermo Diaz-Graham, now 10 of 18 at the line, missed the front of the 1-and-1.
You know, a guy who can shoot threes with the stroke that he has, you figure he can make free throws.
But he's 59% coming in and missed the front end there. Ellis caught in the air. Payne. Here's Traynor. Now for Ellis. Wheeler calling for the ball against Diaz-Graham. 5 to shoot. Here's Ellis. Back for James. He'll drive baseline. Diaz-Graham challenged. Kept it alive. Recovered Wheeler. They'll go to the deck, and Diaz-Graham tried to call the timeout and got it called. Laying on his stomach. Guillermo Diaz-Graham has done some little things in this first half to help Pitt. Graham, with his team up 11, fighting underneath Dan, and go all the way to the floor. And can I get a timeout, please?
Well, now, Wes, that's what guys do an awful lot. But I'll tell you something. I think I'd rather have that timeout for later in the game, particularly when your team has the possession arrow. And so had that been a held ball, Pitt would have gotten it anyway. They didn't have to take that timeout.
Jeff Capel's team up 11. Inside 3 to go.
Louisville back to the zone. And again, the Panthers have not been able to score on the inside.
Yep.
The points in the paint total is 12-4 in favor of Louisville. Oh, what a pass.
Federico.
And again, Wes, that's not a post-up move. He just puts himself inside in an open spot, and the zone forgets about him because he's not really a big threat in there.
Inside, Ellis to James, and
I think he was out of bounds.
Yep. Mike James out of bounds.
Oh, screen. Illegal
screen.
I'm sorry.
10 turnovers. The foul is on Wheeler. His second. He becomes the third card with 2.
Well, I have to say Wheeler has been very aggressive setting those screens.
19 fouls and no free throws on player control. Elliott trying to get in the game on 3s. And there'll be a foul on Federico. That's his second. 6 on Pitt with 2:04 to go.
Wes, and Elliott is a guy who comes in from Marquette with the reputation as a three-point shooter. But in ACC play, he has struggled. He comes into the game only 9 for 35, 26% from beyond the arc.
Dan, he's only got 1 double-figure game in his last 5, and that's an 11-point effort against Clemson 10 days ago at the Peterson Event Center. 13-point lead for the Panthers.
Well, part of that has been that Sibande's been playing so well.
3 from James is good.
That's a big basket.
Yep, 5 from Mike James, the redshirt freshman from Orlando. 19th 3 of the year.
Wes, with the way this first half has gone, I think if Louisville can get to the locker room under 10, they should be happy.
Here is Burton flashing. Little 2-pointer will roll in for Jamaris Burton.
That's what he does as well as anybody in the conference. He can get it in there. He can score against size. He's got nice touch.
And he makes the lead a dozen. 35-23 in the final 65 seconds. Trainer launches, knocks it down. 7 for Trainer. He caught a vibe in back-to-back games against Clemson and Wake Forest. He's had a nice first half for Kenny Payne. He's got 7. The lead is 9 now. Diaz-Graham back for Elliott. Here's Burton skipping for Sibande. Guillermo, another 3. Back rim miss. Santos tried to keep it alive. And Louisville's going to have a chance for potentially the last shot of the half. So here's Ellis with Sibande there, and a reach in on Nike Sibande will be his second. 7th on the Panthers with 18 seconds to go here in the first half.
Wes, Sibande did a really nice job poking at the ball, and he forced Ellis to pick it up. Now Ellis is in trouble. He's standing at half court, and he doesn't have his dribble, and then Sibande bailed him out by pushing him.
Free throw by Ellis is good. Ellis now with his 4th point. 77% free throw shooter.
Wes, really a nice job by Louisville to stay in this game. They looked, they took a heck of a shot from Pitt.
Sure did.
On that 17-2 run, but they have hung in there. They've got this thing under double figures.
8-point lead for the Panthers, and Ellis going to try and make it 7, and does. He's got 5. Elliott will put it in play, and here is Burton. A little backcourt pressure offered by the Cards.
Just trying to make him run some time off the clock. Back in the man-to-man.
Here is Burton on the drive. Right corner, Elliott. He'll slash and hang at the horn and knock down a 2. Elliott's got 9, and Pittsburgh's going to take a 9-point lead to the locker room. 37-28 for Jeff Capel's team. Stay tuned. Coming up, off to our ACC Network studios, Dan. Jordan Cornette standing by, and ACC hoopsman Eric McLean. Going through, if you will, of the offense for Jeff Capel's team. And Louisville's going to get the ball to start second half. Lands will play with Ellis, of course. Mike James, Sidney Curry, Jalen Withers out there for Kenny Payne. And very quickly, Withers against Henson, who was quiet in the first half, I thought, for the Panthers. He'll roll into the lane, feed Curry up strong against Federico. And then Withers punched it away from Federico.
One of Henson's problems in the first half is he picked up too early fouls, Wes.
Sure did.
And so he didn't have a chance to be effective. And Withers had a real good start to the game. Then he picked up 2 fouls.
Here is Cummings and the Panthers. Nellie Cummings pretty quiet in the first half, too, and that's an offensive foul.
It appears to me, Wes, that Nellie Cummings is a little bit bothered by the Panthers, by the Louisville's size at the guard position. Now, they list him at 6 feet tall, and I think that must be with him standing on a chair. But, so he's a very effective player, and he's very strong, but he's not very tall.
And in some respect, it just shows you how the progressive scouting reports go, right? Because Duke was physical with the perimeter last Wednesday night, Dan, from a defensive perspective. In Durham.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you have to be physical with this Pitt team because they're a bunch of big, strong guys, and if you're not, they'll get your head handed to you.
Ellis in traffic, tried to get it to Lance. He couldn't hang on to it. And Louisville will turn it over.
See, and again, that's not a transition turnover, Wes, but that ruins an opportunity for you. Here you have an opportunity to score, and you don't take advantage of it.
Yep. So they avoid the live ball turnover. Nonetheless, here are the Panthers. Nice pass, and Federico right there at the rim for his second field goal. That was too easy.
Well, I don't know.
Kenny Payne.
I don't know that they want Curry to jump out on Burton like that. He's not quite the threat from 3. And even if they do, they've got to have somebody back in the lane to help out. That was just a defensive breakdown.
Lead jumps to 11 on the first points of the second half. Withers, 7 to shoot. Here's James. Now to Curry, 4 to shoot. Curry turns into a double team, blocked by Federico, and there's a shot clock violation on Louisville. It was tough, Dan. It looked like it went from bad to worse, though, on the entry pass.
Well, you see, nobody's down in the lane. I think maybe they wanted Lands to be down in there because he's the one furthest from the ball. But that, if you're going to leave Federico or Diaz-Graham that wide open, then the Panthers are going to throw him the ball.
Yep. Burton. Federico slipped again off that screen. They'll whip it to the right side. Back out front. Here's Henson teeing up a 3 that spins out. Sibande, who's come into the ball game to replace Cummings a moment ago. Challenge for the rebound, but Ellis has it for the Cards. On the drive and fouled by Federico. So the sophomore from Finland, born in Egypt, draws his 3rd. It'll be the 2nd on the Panthers. And free throws upcoming for the Cards here with Albert Ellis III. So a couple of free throws for Ellis. And the first one is good. Don't forget, tomorrow night, women's basketball takes over the ACC network. This week, some good ones. Miami and NC State start our coverage tomorrow night at 6. Jen Hildreth and Debbie Antonelli will be at Reynolds Coliseum. And then Kara Lawson and Courtney Banghart at Carmichael Arena for number 13 Duke, number 17 Carolina. That's 8 o'clock on ACC Network. And always for you on the ESPN app. Haley Cavender of Miami, Dan, that is right, 41% from 3 for Katie Meyer's team. 7 for Ellis, answered by Henson over the edge of the backcourt. That's technically out of play, so it will belong to the Cards.
You know, Wes, Henson has shot the ball pretty well this year, but he hadn't shot the ball well at all tonight.
Nope.
And I'm not sure that that's exactly the shot that Pitt was looking for in that situation.
Yep.
You know, if it goes in, you say, oh, okay. But that early in the shot clock, that long a shot, I don't know.
Feels like the Panthers might be putting a crack in the door. Can Louisville step through a little bit here, Dan?
Well, Louisville's just got to hang in there and keep this game competitive and then see if they can get a little spurt at the end.
James misses the long three. Here is Sibande, who was red hot in the first half. And an offensive foul called on Sibande as that time Withers steps in to draw the charge from Tim Clougherty's whistle. Third on Sibande.
Well, here's Sibande. He's trying to take it to the basket, and Withers, you establish initial guarding position, both feet on the floor facing the dribbler, then you are allowed to move. You're allowed to move backwards, you're allowed to move laterally, or as the rule book says, obliquely. You just can't move toward the guy. And when you're moving laterally or backward and that guy hits you in the chest with his elbow, his shoulder, then that's going to be a charge.
Oh, what a catch and dunk by Traynor. I think he took this off the hands of Diaz-Graham.
Wes, you're right. Diaz-Graham was trying to tip it away, but Traynor just goes up over the top and gets it. Diaz-Graham thought he had it. That is, you can't throw a better lob pass than that.
Wow, what a play. The foul on Guillermo will be his first. It's 4 on Pitt, and the three-point trip for J.J. Traynor.
Well, Wes, and just like that, it's a 6-point game.
And now Nelly Cummings is back off of Jeff Capel's bench and into the ball game.
The Panthers' shot selection here in the second half has been sort of problematic.
Yep. Here's Henson. Gets it to Burton. Well, here's the double team. They'll skip it for Elliott. 3 from the corner. Good. And Jamarius Burton threw up the 3 fingers before Elliott ever cut it loose. A dozen for Elliott on his second 3.
Well, Wes, that's the risk you take. You drop down inside, cover up Diaz-Graham.
And there's an offensive foul at the Louisville end of the floor. And the foul's on Mike James.
Both of these teams need to get in the lane, but you've got to be careful. When you get in there, you need to jump stop. You don't want to be running over people. But Elliott was open for that last three-pointer because that time Louisville guarded the screen and roll.
And that ball got kicked by Withers off the inbounds of Elliott. Now, he wanted to go to Burton. And there's the quick inbounds pass, and now Cummings. Out of the double team, Elliott. Into traffic, Diaz-Graham underneath. Bounces out of it, and he will be called for the travel.
When Elliott wanted Henson to cut into the lane, and Henson didn't.
Nope. Jeff Capel knows now. The thing every coach talks to us about Louisville, Dan, hey, look, they're good. They're getting better. They're not reflective of their overall record. Here is James, a 3. And an outlet. This is Cummings for Burton, who will score. Just the 3rd field goal, only 6 tonight for Jamarius Burton.
Great defensive pressure by Burton on that 3, and then he just took off down to the other end.
Ellis on the drive with a score with a right hand. Second field goal for Ellis. He's got 9. And it's a 9-point game, and there's a foul that will get us to a timeout. It'll be on the Cards. J.J. Traynor, his second, but Pittsburgh's got something going here. Elliott out of the corner a moment ago, and the Panther lead is 9. Bonner, West Durham at the Yum Center in Louisville. The host Cards trailing Pittsburgh and Nike Sibande 44-35 here early in the second half. Sibande and Greg Elliott have been part of the barrage. They have 24 combined on 9 of 11. Now, among that 9, Dan, is 5 threes. 4 for Sibande. I'm sorry, 6 threes, 4 for Sibande and 2 for Elliott.
Well, and part of the problem for the Panthers is Sibande's now on the bench because he's got 3 personal fouls.
Yep. Here is Henson, who's had a tough night scoring. Forced it up. Diaz-Graham couldn't finish the first time. Second time it got blocked. Wheeler got him on the arm, and a foul on Wheeler will be his 3rd. And it's the 3rd on the Cards.
Wes, Diaz-Graham has done some really good things in the game tonight.
Yep.
He does a nice job. Nobody blocks him out, but he cuts hard to the basket. Wes, and when he gets a little stronger, that's going to be a dunk.
Yep.
But he's got 6 rebounds. He's got 5 points. He's got a blocked shot. 6 points.
Yep, the older of the twins now. Twin brother Jorge is on the bench. Guillermo, I like the way they're named. Guillermo was born first. That's a G. Jorge, born second, is a J. From Tenerife in the Canary Islands. And the second one falls away, so it's a 10-point Pittsburgh lead.
Now the Panthers have been in man-to-man the entire game.
Here is Ellis on the drive, and Diaz-Graham commits the foul, and Ellis another marker on the board. 6.5, 11 in the ball game for the senior from Durham.
You know, it doesn't matter how tall the defender is. Once Ellis gets in there and he makes up his mind, he uses his body very effectively, gets right up against the shot blocker, and then just gets the flip up there. That is a really good shot. He creates that with his quickness, and then he scores it with his strength.
Ellis is nearly 18 a game, almost 5 assists, a steal and a half. And now he's got 7.5 and a dozen in the ball game to go with 5 assists tonight. The lead is 7. It's been as narrow as 6 here in the second half for Pittsburgh.
The key for Louisville is the Cards are hanging around.
Yep. And we're 5 minutes in on the second half. Here's Cummings baseline all the way through. Henson from the corner. Not his night, Dan, from the floor.
I think Wes, he's now 0 for 7. In fact, he hadn't scored a field goal tonight. He's made 2 free throws.
That's right. Here's Ellis, and he turned it over to Burton. He's got Cummings with him, and that ball got deflected by Louisville. That's a nice piece of officiating by Doug Sermons.
Well, he's right on top of him, Wes.
Sure was.
That was an impossible bounce pass, though. I'm not sure that even if the ball doesn't hit the Louisville player on the foot, that Cummings can catch that one.
Ball hit Trainer's foot. Here is Henson. He lost it again through traffic. Here's Burton inside against Trainer. That's only the 4th field goal for Jamarius Burton.
Now, Burton has been impressive tonight, Wes, because he hadn't tried to force anything. He's drawn an awful lot of defensive attention, but he's just sort of letting the game come to him.
Ellis with 15 to shoot, runs off a Wheeler screen. Works his way into traffic on Diaz-Graham, and a little fall away falls off.
That fall away over a 7-footer is not an easy shot.
Man, he's got all the shots, doesn't he? I mean, just understanding where the shot comes from, how to get the ball to a competitive spot. Burton misses the 3.
Well, Wes, we showed you that graphic earlier. He dominates this offense.
Yep. There's James. He lost it on the dribble and ultimately turns it over.
Well, and again, Wes, Louisville they're not turning it over so Pitt is going down and scoring easily, but they have opportunities here to cut into this lead, and they just turn it over.
15 turnovers now for Kenny Payne's team. And a little backcourt pressure offered. Pittsburgh's got to push it into the forecourt, and Nate Santos has come back on the floor. Number 5 for the Panthers.
Now there's only 15 seconds left on the shot clock, so the Panthers do not have a lot of time to operate here.
There's Cummings trying to pick up off the double team into the corner. Burton, he'll take it on the drive. 5 to shoot. Rolls into traffic with a right hand. Easy bucket for Burton, who's now in double figures.
You know, I think if it's me, I'd play off Burton and let him shoot that 3, because if you try to get too close to him, he's going right by you. And he doesn't try to go all the way to the basket. He uses his strength to get that mid-range shot, and he's almost impossible to stop.
7 minutes gone here in this second half. Withers trying to fight through. Quickly they move it to Trainer, now to Ellis. He'll streak into traffic, feed Wheeler, put it on the ground, and then the dunk follow by Trainer.
Another offensive rebound for Louisville. And again, that's created by good ball movement. You get that defense to move around, you get them chasing drivers, and you get some offensive rebounding opportunities.
Career high tonight for Trainer. He's got a dozen. Elliott. Now here's Burton with Withers defending. And he'll just back it out, use the Diaz screen, free Elliott for 3. Got it. Wow. You know, Greg Elliott had only been double-figure scoring 1 time in the last 5 games, and that was 11 against Clemson. He's got 15 tonight by the way, first of 2 meetings in the regular season with the Noles and the Panthers. And then Dan Bonner and I will be at Smith Center in Chapel Hill for this thing called State Carolina.
Wes, that is just a wonderful rivalry. Those games are so much fun.
Yep, and presented by Subway, we're looking forward to being in Chapel Hill for a very interesting game if you go to the NCAA net, because you know who's in search of a quad 1 win? North Carolina.
Well, they've got what I read. They only have one this year. They're 1-6.
That's it, yeah. You see Jeff Capel and his staff working through this timeout and beyond here, trying to set up what looks like a little counter pressure to what Louisville's tried to do to Pitt here, Dan.
They're trying to keep the ball away from Ellis, make him run some time off the clock in the back court.
Still more than 12 minutes to go, and a 12-point lead for Pittsburgh, who's won 3 times already on the road in the ACC this year. Inside is James.
Boy, he's stuck.
Yep. Trainer gets it right back to Withers, 6 to shoot, and that's a long 3 that spins out. And it got knocked loose, last touch by Pitt. And that will get us to a timeout. They're going to reset the clock to 20. Jeff Capel's team up 12. Pittsburgh's got a 9 in Joe Lunardi's daily projections, bracketology as it is.
Well, Wes, we're still 2 months away from the selections,
sure,
but this is an entertaining piece. Everybody wants to know, where does my team stand? And Joe helps us out here. And
every day.
Every day.
Yep.
You can see he's got Pittsburgh in as a 9 seed. Now Virginia Tech in his considered category. They're in a very tight game right at the moment against Virginia.
Yeah. Wake Forest in the next 4 out, and that is after the home win against Clemson. How about a Virginia-Wake Forest game as a part of your ACC basketball Saturday this weekend, too? Here's Ellis with Withers. Now Withers around Santos, gets all the way to the basket and will draw the foul. And I believe it's on Burton, and it is. It'll be his second. I point out the Wake-Virginia game. We touched on Carolina and State on ACC Network. Miami is at Duke. Damn.
Well, there's some great games.
I mean, this weekend is like, I'm telling you now. A couple of shots here for Withers.
No, Wes, we're starting to get into the time of the year where all these projections start to have a little bit more meaning because we're getting closer.
Right. That's the first miss at the line in the second half for Louisville. Now, Jeff Capel's team has done some good things. 4-2 on the road. They've got 3 road wins in the ACC. Second one by Withers gives him a half dozen tonight. Now here's the backcourt pressure again into Burton. And he'll get it to Cummins. Federico back on the floor. Santos is out there instead of Henson. Elsewise, starters for Pitt. Burton, Cummings, Elliott. Here is Santos. Nice move and score by Nate Santos.
Wes, when you drop your guys into the lane to defend that screen and roll, you leave that guy on the wing open, and Santos did a really nice job creating some space and getting the basket.
Boy,
and you talk about creating space and getting the basket.
9.5, 14 in the ball game for Ellis. Still an 11-point Pitt lead. Under 11 to go.
And at 6'3", Ellis doesn't post up too many guys, but he posted up Cummins that time.
Sure did. And now we get a whistle, and I believe
Wheeler.
Roosevelt Wheeler. Yes, it'll be his 4th. And with 10:43 to go, it's the 4th foul of the half on the Cardinals. And here comes Sidney Curry back to replace the sophomore from Richmond, Virginia, who pauses to visit with his head coach here.
Well, Wheeler has been playing hard, Wes, but he's sort of been a bull in the china shop kind of guy. Tonight he's got 4 fouls.
Burton, and threw it beyond the reach of Santos.
Well, that's where he wanted to go. It was a very good job by Burton to see what the defense was doing. He just didn't make a good pass.
Yeah.
And I think Santos was lining that up for a shot.
Yep.
Took his eyes off the ball a little bit.
Trainer. Here's Ellis rounding around the screen, and what a tough shot.
Wes,
fun to watch.
We are now in the part of the game where it looks to me like Ellis has decided he's got to take over.
Yep. Pittsburgh lead is 9. 11 points in the half, 16 in the game for Ellis. Cummings a long 2. Off the rim, rebounded by Withers.
And Cummings hasn't made a field goal tonight either. In fact, Cummings hasn't scored a point.
Here is Ellis again. Dumps for Curry. Federico was there. Curry had it fall off the front iron. Burton trying to square up James. Cummings a 3-ball. Got it. Apparently all you had to do was talk about it.
Well, Cummings is one of those guys, Wes, who he may not make all the shots. He may not even make a very high percentage of the shots, but he has this uncanny way of making big shots.
10th 3 of the night for Pitt. Lead is back to 12 on the triple from Nelly Cummings. Curry against Federico. Bulls inside. Can't score it over the sophomore.
It's really good defense by Federico. Just get his hands up.
Cummings picks up on the dribble. Burton for Elliott. Fakes the 3. Will settle for the 2.
And we've seen Elliott do that a couple of times tonight, Wes. He doesn't have to be so totally reliant on the 2. He didn't really get a clean catch of that ball, and so he gave the fake and stepped inside the 3-point line for the mid-range. That's a nice play.
14-point lead for Pitt on the basket by Elliott, who now has 17 in the ball game. Jamarius Burton has got 8 assists. It's a season high for him tonight.
Well, as you said, Wes, Burton isn't doing a lot of scoring tonight, but he has sort of orchestrated everything the Panthers are doing out there. We saw that one replay earlier where he made the great defensive play. We said it before the game, he's the table setter for these guys.
We get way caught up in projections here. I said at the top, I think he's having an all ACC year, Dan. I mean, if you were cobbling together 5 guys to call them halfway of the conference season here next week or so is all ACC, this guy's got to be there.
Well, he's got to be there. I agree with you. But you can see here, he's still scored 10 points tonight. You know, we've still got 8.5, almost 9 minutes left in this game. He's working on a double-double.
But tonight early, it felt like he realized once they start going from behind the line in the first half, his job was to get the ball to Sibande, get the ball to Elliott. And those guys carried him to what was a 9-point halftime lead, and now is back up to 14 after being as close as 6 in this second half.
Boy, Cummins and Elliott are really jawing at one another.
And Ellis hit the deck. That's a travel. We've seen a handful of guys go down tonight.
Kenny Payne believes that Federico had something to do with that slip.
And he's having a visit with Tim Clockerty. And here is Burton into the forecourt.
And Louisville drops back into the zone. This is a real danger zone for Louisville here.
Sibande a triple. Back rim, bounds away, and Trainer going to let that go out of bounds.
I think if you're Pitt, you take that shot. A wide open 3 by
Especially
Sibande.
that guy.
Yeah, as well as he's been shooting the ball. Now he's cooled off. But Louisville's got to get something going here. They've turned it over a couple times recently. They've missed some shots at the basket. And it's hard to come back if you don't score.
15 to shoot. Withers going to work. Louisville needs somebody other than Ellis. Jalen Withers couldn't score inside. Henson on the outlet. Here's Cummings. He'll skip it into the corner. Sibande races to the rim. And that got blocked by Ellis.
I think he was passing the ball, Wes. I think if he shoots it, then he gets it up on the rim at least.
Heck of a play by Ellis at the defensive end. Stole it out of the air, and here are the Cards.
And he just didn't bat it away. He swiped it.
Sure did. Ellis over the top of Burton. And they scramble inside. Henson goes to the deck to control, and a held ball will award it to the Panthers. We get a break in the action. Pittsburgh by 14, looking for their third.
Has the respect on the national scene that they deserve.
Look, I'm going to offer you that I thought Jeff Capel's comments post-game last Wednesday night in Durham about where this league is from a competition standpoint were incredibly appropriate and spot on, Dan, about where this league might take itself as we go down through the month of February and into early March. It's going to be really interesting. Here's Cummings, a 3 out of the timeout, and Federico the rebound, and tried to get it back to Cummings, and Nelly couldn't hang on over the inline out of bounds.
All right, Wes, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why is your 7-foot guy right down under the basket passing the ball to the 6-foot guy?
Coach, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I thought there must be a rational reason for that.
There's no rational for that, and you knew the answer before you asked the question. Here's Withers, a fall away, and a foul going to be on Cummings. So Nelly Cummings will draw his second. It's the 7th on Pitt. It was 7:07 to play. And that'll bring Jalen Withers to the line. And a couple of free throws for the junior from Charlotte. And Doug Sermons was waiting on something to award Withers the basketball for the first of these two.
Well, Tim Clougherty and Jeff Capel were having a discussion.
There we go. Don't forget, Thursday nights, 10 o'clock Eastern, following our women's basketball doubleheader. Kelsey Riggs, Kelly Gramlich, the Hall of Famer Muffet McGraw. Nothing but net on the ladies' side. Full highlights, analysis of every women's game. Look ahead to some of the best games on the schedule. Comes your way on ACC Network and the ESPN app. That follows a terrific women's doubleheader tomorrow night.
West Louisville still has a chance to make a late push here. This game isn't out of reach.
Henson finally gets one to go from the perimeter, Dan.
Well, you have to say that he was not discouraged by his earlier misses.
Largest lead of the night now for Capel's team.
What, did he miss his first 8?
Yep, I think that's right. Missed his first 7.
First 7.
And hit his 8th on the 3 there. Here's Traynor. Hanging shot is good.
Boy, that's a tough play right there.
14 for Traynor.
Well, Wes, the amazing thing about that is he went straight up in the air. If he moves forward, he picks up a charging call, but he goes straight up in the air and somehow gets it over the outstretched hands of Federico. That is a really nice play.
Federico inside, and a foul will be called against the Cardinals, and it's going to be on Kamari Lands, freshman from Indianapolis. His first. It's the 5th.
That was a good job by Federico to hang on to that ball long enough to get the foul called. You normally don't see the Panthers throw it into Federico in that much traffic.
Federico is now 13 of 24 at the line this year.
Well, they have a really nice rotation going in there with Federico, and we saw Guillermo Diaz-Graham, but Jorge Diaz-Graham is part of that rotation too.
Second one is good. Six minutes to play and a 14-point lead.
Pitt's man-to-man has been really good for the most part tonight.
On the drive, Ellis inside Curry, and blocked and affected by Federico.
Wes, Curry's got to do a better job getting position under the basket, so when he catches the ball, he can just take it right up. He catches the ball close, but then he has to take one dribble, and that allows the defense to collapse.
5.5 to play. Burton and the Panthers. Here's Elliott. Hesitates on the 3. Nice pass. Federico the layup. 4 in a row for Federico.
And he's just going to the basket, and he's ready to catch the ball. He's ready to rebound it offensively. Nice pass by Elliott.
65-49. 3-ball Traynor spins out. Elliott the rebound.
Panthers are in no hurry now, Wes.
Nope, inside 5 to go.
You don't want to take your foot off the gas, but you don't need to scramble down the court on every rebound.
And Louisville, who's lost 11 straight ACC games. They've lost 7 straight total in the better part of a month. In fact, it's been 31 days since their last win, December 17th.
And that's a foul that's created, Wes, really by Burton. Federico gets the foul for setting an illegal screen, but Burton has to use the screen better than that.
4 fouls on Federico. No player control on the 8th against Pitt. There's a three from out on the left by Devin Reed, a 6'8" freshman. Just his 5th attempt from behind the line this year.
If you're Pitt, I think you want to keep attacking, Wes. You don't want to be doing crazy things, but you don't want to be slowing the game down enough that you sort of lose your momentum.
Burton now lost it and rolled it on the ground. He might have gotten away with a double dribble in some books. Henson misses badly from 3. Here is Ellis now trying to benefit from the Wheeler screen. James slides baseline and cannot score it. How about that? And here's Sibande bringing it up the floor. Elliott left open. 3 spins out. We had a good look right behind his shooting arm, and
I thought that was in.
Yep, so did I. 16-point game, inside of 4 to go. Ellis into traffic. 15 to shoot. Ellis from in front. Knocks down a long 3.
A long 3 with Federico right in his face.
19 now for Ellis in the ball game. He's had 8 games of. He's had 20 or more in 3 of the last 4. Here is Elliott out of the corner. He can't answer. It's a 13-point game ahead of 3 minutes to play. And Dan, back to your thought a moment ago here.
Well, Louisville still has a chance.
There goes 3 more. And Trainer tried to compete with it. Last touch by the Cards. That'll get us to a timeout. Pittsburgh by 13. 3 minutes to play in the Ville.
Exactly what was on my mind.
Yeah, no. Well, don't worry, Dan. It'll be open again in May. The portal will.
That's very exciting.
The lead for Pitt is 14. Never sleeps, Dan, does it?
No.
Nothing anymore. Here is Burton.
So now you got to get after him. You have to create turnovers.
Henson 3. How about that? By the way, that'll be another 3 for Blake Henson. They awarded. You may have gone away and said, wait a second, they gave him a point. Yes, the Henson 3. The first shot he hit was scored originally at 2. They credit him with the 3, and now he knocks down another one to make it a 17-point Pitt lead with 2.5 to go, and knocked out of bounds, and it will stay.
I think they called
the Cards,
a foul.
and they did call a foul. But let's put Jeff Capel's 13th win, 6th in conference play a little line here.
Well, Wes, the reason this is important is when you're up for an NCAA at-large bid, they're going to look at your strength of schedule, the quality of the teams you beat, where you beat them, that kind of thing. And that's what the quad system is about. The Panthers have 3 wins in quad 1 games. They're 2-4 in quad 2. But the important thing is they have not lost a quad 3 or quad 4 game yet. And that's one of the reasons why this is such an important game for them. A loss today would be a quad 4 loss, and that could really come back to bite them at NCAA tournament selection time.
Yep. Here's Henson setting up another one that spins out ahead of 2 minutes to go.
And again, Wes, I think the Panthers and Clemson are sort of in the same kind of position that a lot of people don't believe in them.
Right.
And the numbers are such. There's an offensive foul. You remember Providence last year? Providence was a team that all they did was win games. And everybody said, well, yeah, they're winning games, but their numbers aren't any good.
Yeah.
And Providence was able to get a bid to the NCAA tournament. They won a couple of games in the tournament.
Yeah. A lot of people felt maybe a little bit like Notre Dame might have been on that rim as well. They won a couple games.
Well, Notre Dame wins 15 games last year in the ACC, and they get in with the first 4.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And as you've said before, a lot of this gets written in November and December when people aren't locked in, you know, from the outside world of college basketball, right?
Well, Wes, most of it gets written in November and December and that's when teams are trying to build up. You have to go in, and not only you, but every team in your league. If you're one of the power leagues, you have to win every game you're supposed to win. And then you have to win a representative number of the games that are considered toss-up games against equal teams.
Boy, Elliott's had a big night. 3 threes in the half, 4 in the ball game. He's got 20 now.
And you look at the teams around the country with the good net rankings, and that's what they did. And your net isn't nearly as important as your opponent's net.
By the way, Jamarius Burton's got his first double-double of the year tonight. 10 points, 10 assists, Dan. There's Hersey Miller on the follow. And Diaz-Graham in the backcourt. Pittsburgh by 18. There's Jorge.
Both of the Diaz-Grahams are in.
Yeah, thank goodness we have jerseys. Jorge 31, Guillermo 25. If you're with us here in the last 40 seconds. Elliott, another one, sure. 23 now for Elliott.
And another assist for Burton.
Yeah, 11 assists tonight for Burton. And that's 2 off the career high of Greg Elliott. He had 25 as a Marquette Golden Eagle. And that ball tipped away with 21 seconds left. Jeff Capel's going to say, boys, that'll be it. And into the front court comes Burton. And Hersey Miller is going to let Jamarius Burton and Pittsburgh dribble this out, Dan. Panthers are going to win for the 7th time in the last 9 games to go to 13-6 and 6-2 in the ACC.
Another road win, Wes. And this, again, this we said this was a win they had to have. And a very aggressive performance. A lot of three-point shooting, guys stepping up, particularly Elliott and Sibande.
Big ball game coming up on Saturday at home for the Panthers. Florida State visits for the first of 2. Louisville's off till next Wednesday when they travel to Boston College. Great to be with Dan Bonner.